If you're anything like me, when a Steam sale hits, you have a tendency to buy a lot of games, and then forgo playing them in favour of another playthrough of Civilization, or another character in Oblivion and Skyrim, or another season on FIFA. Well, I made a pact with myself that I can't buy another new game on Steam unless I can move another 3 games to my played list. In fact, the only game that I've bought this year so far is Hogwarts Legacy. That's only because I knew that I'd play the game immediately when it came out, and as of typing, Elden Ring is also on sale right now. Will I buy it? Only if I can clear another game first. So, this series will chronicle my adventures through clearing games off of my Steam list that have been, quote-unquote, forgotten, to allow me to buy some new games that I want to play immediately. That's right, I need to sort of change the way I think and stop actually playing the games that I buy. Buying Steam games, like anything, can be an addiction. The Steam store page actually kind of feels like a lucky dip or a slot machine whenever I open it, recommending me new games that I may like based on past purchases. And they're always on sale too, trying to entice me even more. This first episode will look at a game I bought way back in 2015, Costume Quest. I bought it in a bundle for about £7.99, that's probably about $10, along with a second Costume Quest game, which will be featured as an episode as it's still a game I need to clear as well. Costume Quest is a scarily simple, straightforward adventure game with turn-based combat and minor RPG elements. It's quite linear, but there are a few sections that allow exploration. Essentially, you play as Ren or her brother Reynold as they go around their neighbourhood, celebrating Halloween, and try collecting as much candy as possible. After a brief introduction, an interdimensional monster invasion begins, and these monsters have an obsession with candy. They have found the exact point in a timeline to venture to the human world on Halloween to maximise their candy intake, under the supervision of a witch called Drusilla who helped them open the gateway. It just so happens that the character that you're not playing as has a very shoddy Halloween costume. They're dressed as a giant piece of candy. The monsters mistake your sibling as a real piece of candy worth more than regular candy and kidnap them. You're quested with tracking down your sibling, ridding the neighbourhood of monsters, and ultimately saving Halloween from Drusilla. The gameplay loop is very easy and very repetitive. Essentially, you knock on doors and will either be greeted by an absent-minded parent, who for some reason fails to notice that there is a monster invasion going on, or by the monsters themselves who have broken into the empty houses to steal their candy. Adults will shower you with candy that can be used to buy upgrades in the form of battle stamps, which grant you abilities in combat. If the house is occupied by a monster, combat begins, whereby you transform into a giant and real version of the costume you happen to be wearing at the time. Turn-based combat begins with XP and candy being awarded as a prize for victory. Basically, you just hit the enemy over and over again in timed events until your special meter rises high enough to scare them off. As you progress through the game, you unlock more areas to explore, more blueprints to build costumes to wear, such as a pumpkin, a robot, and even an eyeball, and more companions to join your party to make combat even easier. New costumes operate in a similar style to LEGO games, allowing you to use their special ability outside of combat to access the game's secrets. Speaking of easier, I only lost a single battle in the entire game, and that came from the final boss of the bundled DLC, which actually had some more difficult puzzles and fights. But overall the game is still just really easy. Even if you don't bother farming wandering enemies, which I didn't in the DLC as I was kind of tired of the gameplay loop. There's a few side quests along the way which are mainly apple bobbing minigames, hide and seek quests, and trading of battle stamps. The only notable plot elements that stand out is the Cain and Abel sibling rivalry between the twins that act as protagonists in the game. The game overall doesn't stand a ghost of a chance against most of the games I play regularly on Steam, but it was still a passable game, with enough bumps in the night to get me through it. I'll be playing the sequel as there's enough there for me to actually want to finish the series off and move one step closer to allow myself to buy a game I actually want to play. The bottom line. I'm not really a graphics whore, I really just care about content, value for money, and replayability. So for a blind any percent run, you'd probably be set back about 4 hours, with 100% runs including DLC being about 7 to 8 hours in length. I paid $7.99 for this bundle, which includes the sequel and the DLC, and I would say that is a pretty fair price for what I'm going to get. This game warrants a hauntingly average 6.5 out of 10. Would I recommend playing this game? Well, if you're a child or a young teenager, maybe yes, it could be a good time, but otherwise, there's just not enough challenge or fun gameplay loops to really say that I would ever want to play through Costume Quest 1 again. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next episode.